The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters, where we're going to bring you the news and reviews of some wonderful brews. My name is Dan Baker, as always joined by my co-host and brewerologist,
Steph Hefner,
and our fermenter-tainer,
Wayne Baker.
And today, as if you can't hear in the background, we are again on location at somewhere that is taking me by surprise, and I really like the decor here. We are at Appalachian Brewing Company in Collegeville, Pennsylvania, and we have with us two fine gentlemen at the end of the table. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourselves.
Mike Parker, marketing manager for ABC.
I'm Jagged, head brewer.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for having us out here today. Now, I know we've got a lot to tackle. These guys have been kind enough to invite us into their space on a very busy Friday night. So let's get everything on the road. All right, so there were a few things news-wise that I saw on the interwebs that were worth passing along today, as there are screaming children in the background. Now I'm gonna,
ravenous fans.
Yes. So there's a few shorter things, a quick blurb, and a story that I know Steph is gonna like. And I don't know if you've gotten a chance to look at the stories I showed you earlier, but okay. So one that Steph actually showed me is that there is a brewery called the Borg Brewery, which I like for a few reasons. They're gonna have a beer based off of smoked dung, as in poop,
As in dung.
Yes.
and the head brewer at the table is shaking his head.
Yeah. It's in an era where everybody seems to want to do a beer that's different for some reason based off of, whether it's meteor dust or smoked
Or
goat brains.
Goat brains, yeah.
Yep.
Right.
The Borg Brewery has Fenrir is going to be the name of it. It is the creation of brewmaster Sturluger Jun Bordensen, who's
a graduate of the American Brewers Guild, by the way.
Yes, you did tell me that. Thank you. He said having the chance to brew a beer like this was a dream come true for him. And speaking to the Icelandic news site mbl.is, he said, "It's been a dream of mine for many years, since before I became brewmaster, to create a dung-smoked beer. I love smoked
What a
food.
dream.
I know. And I've tried smoked beer, so I wanted to try and make a dung-smoked beer, because that's what you do when you have smoked beer. You think of poop. The beer is set to touch down in the U.S. after an importer reportedly gave it a rave review. However, Sturluger, or whatever his name is, said the beer was likely to have a split opinion on it. People either say they hate the taste or that they've never tasted anything as good. It's, in fact, a light IPA beer with a fresh citrus taste and aroma from the hop. Then a little heavier dung smoke taste arrives, but it's all worked out, he said. The arrival in the U.S. is, of course, going to rest on the FDA, pending approval from them. So be sure to check out your local bottle shop and or brewery soon for a beer based off of poop.
And that's, what is it, Borg Brewery?
Yes, Borg Brewery. The beer is called Fenrir, and it is the creation of brewmaster Sturluger Jon Bjornsson.
And it's from what, Sweden?
Iceland.
Iceland, yes.
Iceland. Of course
Iceland.
it's from Iceland.
Yeah.
You know what, Iceland, they have necro pants. When there's a thing they do, it's like a magical belief that they have that you ask a friend of yours that when they die, can I have your legs? And they say yes. And then you flay the skin off of their legs, you dry them, make them into pants, and then you place a coin in a certain natural pocket that the pants come equipped with. And that's supposedly supposed to bring you fame and riches and good fortune.
I'm just going to take a time out here. Mike from ABC. Jay, what have we gotten ourselves into?
I agree. That just sounds like my normal Tuesday night.
I do have a question, though. How do you measure that poop beer? Is it in IPUs or
Parker.
IB2s?
IB2. But
I like that.
That's disgusting, but I could figure it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it probably has happened in the homebrew community.
Not so much
Oh, dear.
intentionally.
Possibly accidentally.
Not intentionally. Oh, God. Well, on the opposite end of the spectrum, there's a beer that I am very much looking forward to trying that is based off of less disgusting things. The guys at Thrillist, which is Thrillist.com, it's a blog for a lot of things, including beer, food, and things that guys like, apparently. They have a beer collaboration, their first ever, thanks to 508 Gastro Brewery's I can't pronounce
Chris
it. Chris
Kuzme. He was in
That
my
guy.
ABG group. I graduated from the guild with him.
There you
So
go.
we've got a connection.
And he does the Ferment About It podcast.
So we've got a connection.
Another ABG grad.
Very cool.
That's
well,
awesome.
We do like a podcast version of the degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Yeah, it should be.
We're just like, we're an advertisement for the American Brewers Guild tonight.
So, Chris, did you say Kuzme?
Kuzme.
Chris Kuzme of 508 Gastro Brewery was the guy who they put as the crazy mix of Gandalf and MacGyver when it comes to beer, created a bacon cheeseburger beer, which they're calling the Bacon Cheesebrugger. The making this amber ale involves smoking the very cheeseburger that was pictured with the article into the malt, involving toasted buns into the mash, and other magic that Gandalf, they're calling him, can't share. They had a release party at the beginning of July 4, but it is available at the 508 Gastro Brewery in New York. And now their website labels it as a smoked amber ale, which was brewed in collaboration with the guys at Thrillist, is made with U.S. two-row English brown malt, rolled oats, and their house-smoked malt that has been smoked over bacon cheeseburgers, smoked above applewood chips. Now,
wow.
For those
Smoked with actual, like, entire cheeseburgers?
Yeah. Now, for anyone who might be meat conscious, no ingredient was in direct contact with meat, so the beer is vegetarian friendly. Now, in addition,
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah. In addition, they added 12 toasted sesame seed buns, 12 toasted Portuguese muffins, and 12 toasted brioche mini buns into the mash. It is hopped with
special sauce, pickles, onion, lettuce.
Yeah,
on a
On a
sesame
sesame seed bun.
It is hopped with schnook and nugget for a crisp finish, and the beer is delicious with bacon cheeseburgers, of course.
What else would you pair it with?
I have no idea. Now,
wow.
The article that I made reference to earlier for Steph was that after there was national euphoria in Germany on Tuesday with the arrival of their World Championship soccer team,
Deutschland.
An apparent crime in the Rhineland served as a reminder that all was not well. Unidentified thieves, the police said, had spent the weekend stealing 10 truckloads of beer. Sometime after 5 p.m. last Thursday, the police say thieves broke open a gate leading to the back of an unguarded warehouse. From there, they broke through another door leading into an office space and then to the warehouse itself. They loaded pallets of beer into tractor trailers, drove them to an unknown location, and then returned for more. And by Monday, when the theft was discovered, 300,000 liters, which is the equivalent to 140,891 U.S. six-packs, had disappeared, according to police spokesman Ecker Gneely. By German consumption standards, to be sure, 10 truckloads of beer is little more than a drop in the barrel, and according to the statistics from the German Brewers Federation, it would take German drinking at their 2013 pace approximately 18 minutes and 22 seconds to consume 300,000 liters of beer.
That's it's a long 18 minutes, though.
Yes.
It's some night, on a Friday night.
Yeah. Now, other details of the case are murky, like a good half of ice in this article states.
But I'm bummed.
The local police wouldn't disclose the name of the warehouse owner. A man who works at the business on the same street said by phone that the warehouse served as a storage facility for alcoholic beverages waiting to clear customs. The Dutch border is nearby to where they are.
What was the beer in when it was it
You know,
it was in kegs? Was it in bottles? Was it?
I'm assuming barrels.
Barrels. They just came in and just
They took the trucks,
hauled out kegs and
they
kegs
took
of beer.
whatever container it was in. They took,
stole the actual trucks.
No, I'm sorry. They took the containers in the truck.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, but 300,000 liters of beer stolen.
One big long straw.
Because Germany won the World Cup and they wanted to celebrate the way that Germans celebrate.
By stealing beer?
By stealing beer. Well, by drinking beer. Now, there's a quick little blurb I wanted to mention at the very end of the news segment.
I am not happy about this. I would like to stay ahead of time.
Well,
Boo.
I'm going to make your day, Wayne.
Okay.
I'm going to try to
Hold
make
on.
your day. So,
You're going to Kentucky?
My day is about to be made.
no, but I'm gonna say the blurb and why Wayne's not happy
Okay.
first. Not
get ahead of ourselves.
Woot Stout 2.0, which we made reference to on the podcast, I wrote an article about on our site. Because of the difficulty in brewing Woot Stout 2.0, Stone has said the distribution will be limited to California and Kentucky.
Boo.
Southern California.
Southern California.
Kentucky.
Now, luckily, I have an upcoming trip to Southern California.
Well, Are you
I'm
going to
going-
steal truckloads of wood staff?
and drive them back across the country to Pennsylvania. No, I'm gonna.
But that's
try
how
my
they end
best.
up in Kentucky, man.
Yeah, right.
'Cause that's where every moonshiner ends up.
Yeah,
at.
that's true. That's true.
I'm gonna try my best to get a couple bottles of it and bring it back so we can, of course,
Taste it on
taste
the
it and
show.
review it on the podcast.
Yay.
Absolutely.
So I have a mission in front of me, and Noelle knows to make sure that it happens.
It better happen.
Amen.
It needs to happen.
Looking at you, Noel.
All right, so that just about does it for news. Now, as we mentioned, we are on location at Appalachian Brewing Company. There's plenty of fine folks enjoying good brews, good food in the area, which is why you hear all the ambient noise. And I kind of like that there's noise in the background because it helps everybody listening know that we're not lying, we're here. But it's a cool atmosphere. I really like the look of the room up here. There's different nationalities' flags hanging around. I got a glimpse of the menu. It all looks amazing and sounds amazing.
Food here is so good.
I like the big poster-sized
Yeah.
beer labels of all the different beers.
Yeah, and there's
all around. That's
one
really cool.
across the room. Oh, and I have to mention for Noelle, the birch beer that is served on site is apparently really good too. Actually, I did have a sip of it. It's really, really good. And now the posters that Wayne was saying, there's a bunch around the room, different brews that they have here. I like the one directly across from us, the Volksweizenbach, which has a VW bus pictured on it, which is my
No.
dream
It's an
car.
ABC bus.
ABC
right?
bus, sorry.
No, we don't
Sorry.
want trademark
No
infringement.
trademark infringement.
It's a very similar looking
yes,
bus.
but legally
However,
distinct.
but manufactured by ABC
Yes.
and no longer on the road, only
Yes.
on poster form.
Okay.
Nice.
But,
And we'll be tasting that beer later on.
I
Disclaimer.
am
It is
very-
our
yeah.
July specialty, so
Ooh,
summer
perfect
is
timing.
officially on tap.
Perfect timing. All right. So, yeah, guys, we can't thank you enough for having us out here to your space. I really dig it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
It is. It's kind of our furthest location. Kind of sits out here on its own in Montgomery County. You know, the company's based in Harrisburg. So,
Yeah.
first microbrew, as we used to call them. Now we call them all craft breweries. You know.
Yeah.
But we are the first microbrewery in Harrisburg, and we got along just fine. Kind of the initial insurgence of craft brewing back in around 1997, and preserved a historic building, bought the thing for $1, put a couple of million into it.
That's awesome.
And the ownership group, recruited a very talented brewmaster from Colorado, Artie Tafoya, who's also one of the members, ownership group at this point, and Jay and I's boss. So all around great guy, great brewer. Has won many awards for his beer, including the Hinterland Hefeweizen, which you guys are
Yes,
sampling
we are.
here tonight.
Love this
Very,
beer.
very
Our
good
sipping
beer.
beer right now,
Yeah,
yes.
thanks. So, and after that, and just to give you a brief history, I don't know if we're at that point in the show, but, we kind of branched out first to historic Gettysburg, where we now operate 2 brew pubs, moved over to the west shore of Harrisburg in Camp Hill, also moved on then to Lidditz, Collegeville, and most recently opened another location, which is not only going to be a craft brewery and a brew pub, but it's also going to be our new craft soda manufacturing plant.
Ooh.
Because craft beer is one thing, and we all know how craft beer has taken a hold of the market as far as taking somewhat of a percentage away from big beer, Rocky Mountain beer, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But craft soda is one of those. There's kind of a similar story happening there. So all of our soda's craft brewed on site in Harrisburg right now, but it's gotten so big with our distribution that we're now opening basically a factory in what used to be, which is kind of cool, a Hummer dealership.
Oh, wow.
So again, we're kind of going back 17 years later. We're going back to our roots, and it's not a historic building we're preserving, but now we're taking over a building that was sitting vacant and putting it back on the tax rolls, employing new people, and best of all, not only brewing craft soda and distributing it out of that Mechanicsburg property, but also putting in a small batch brew system, which will actually be the second largest in our company chain, as all of our brew pubs.
Yeah, it's not very small. It's a 15-barrel.
Yeah, 15 barrels. So Jay Kendig, our head brewer, is here to join me, and he can step in anytime. I get a little worried.
Now, Jay, you're the head brewer, and your main hub is Harrisburg. Correct?
Yeah.
And that's a pretty giant location. I think, 50,000 square feet says in the notes here.
There she is, right over there on the wall, yeah.
Oh, there's a picture over there? Oh, wow, yeah.
Beautiful
Jeez.
building.
Absolutely.
And you have the restaurant on the main level, and then there's the additional bar upstairs. Where exactly is the brewery located? That's on the first floor next to the restaurant area?
Yeah, it actually takes both stories. because
Very
we
cool.
have a 40-barrel brew house, 3-vessel, and then 8 100-barrel fermenters. So basically, you can see the bottom of them from downstairs, and obviously the top of the dome from upstairs. And so it's all full of windows, so you see everything in there.
So you're on display while you're brewing.
We are the monkeys behind the keys.
yes.
So I know you were saying that there's a lot of history there, and I saw in the notes that we have, it dates back to 1890 for parts of that building.
Yeah, believe it or not, I mean, there's a lot of history in that building. We like to think that we're part of the modern history because of taking over, the brewing tradition in the city of Harrisburg. Back in 1997, we were the first brewery since the 40s to operate in the state capital. So, of course, we've got Yuengling just right up the road. In the same year, our friends from Trogs opened up, who have since moved on to another part of Dauphin County over in Hershey.
Yeah.
And the business models there are we're a brewery with a brew pub state of mind, or they're a big distribution brewery, and so everyone's kind of on their own historical path, and it all starts in that building. The building itself has served as a lot of different things. Warehousing, auto parts, manufacturing.
Was it ever a Hummer dealership?
No. Wait, that's maybe what's going to happen next.
There you go.
If Hummers come back. But I think with the price of gasoline, I'd rather put my money into a pint of beer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same
So,
here.
but the one thing I was going to say about our building is that there was actually a massive fire there.
Oh.
At one point in that history. And so that was a major, if you actually know what you're looking at when you're inside the building, when you are standing on, I believe it's the first floor, and you look up, there are portions of the wood that are not actually stylized to look burned. They actually have a little singe to them.
Oh wow!
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they kept certain parts of the building there.
And
so
that wasn't when the ABC was there.
Absolutely
this was
not.
back
This
in
is
the
That was
back-
56, actually.
56,
Yeah.
And it took off the top layer of the building, too. It used to have 4 stories. So.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
yeah.
Quite a sordid history to the building.
Yeah, but so we it's really cool, and long before I worked for the company, I was just a customer, and I kind of relate to everybody that walks through. When you like the look of this place, this space has actually been a restaurant before. Before we had the opportunity to move into this region, but that's a building that. It was a vision, and when you walk through those big wooden doors in the front of our main brew pub in Harrisburg, I like to say you fall in love with it. So
Wow. Now, is the decor here is it sort of styled after
Yes.
the decor that just sort
Yeah,
of
it's
well,
brick, open beam.
the
kinda
exposed
industrial.
brick, the and the corrugated metal and that. Yeah, it's a really cool look. It's very cool.
So there are 2 ABC locations in the Gettysburg area, but there's something really interesting going on with the older of the 2 locations. You want to tell us a little bit about what's going on there in Gettysburg?
yeah, well, obviously when you're prospecting locations to expand your company, you're looking for places where there's a lot of foot traffic, interest in the region. You want to be an attraction, just like the rest of the region. So being in Harrisburg, we thought about 7 years into the business, it would be great to move into Gettysburg. Gettysburg has a massive amount of not only year-round residents who've fallen in love with the beautiful area there, and the apple farming industry, and folks who make a living there, and the college that's there as well. But you have just a huge amount of visitors, tourists that come to check out historic Gettysburg. So we had the opportunity to lease a space in 1994, and took over an old restaurant there, and it's been one of our most successful restaurants, and people, again, it's one of those places that it's become a second home, kind of, that we call it the Cheers mentality for a lot of people.
Yeah,
It's
nice.
like everybody knows your name, everybody's got a mug in the mug club, and waitresses and waiters, they really don't need to ask a lot of the regulars what they want to eat or what they want to drink, at least for the first one, But we found out just a short while ago that space actually sits on it. We knew it sat on a historic property. But the brew pub, which again we lease, sits on a property with a hotel, and also the residence in which Robert E. Lee, General Lee, used as its headquarters during the Civil War.
Oh, wow.
And there is a little museum and gift shop in that area. But if you know anybody who's really a stickler for history in Gettysburg, they don't like gift shops and, touristy stuff. They actually want to see the empty field and the original structure. And hey, we worked very hard, to establish our 7th location in Mechanicsburg, to expand our company, to grow to grow our brand. So it is a little bit of it hurts a little bit to have to give up and be back down to 6 locations.
Yeah.
But we do understand the Civil War Trust, which is the organization that wants to preserve that area. They were able to raise enough money to purchase the property from the owners, and in such our lease agreement will expire at the end of the year. So Appalachian Brewing Company of Gettysburg Battlefield, we call that, will no longer exist, as well as the hotel that's on that property, any other commercial ongoings, if you will, and then it'll just really be preserved. They're gonna be demolished.
Yeah.
And it's also not like we're losing it, it's just going back to nature, which is cool.
Yeah.
It's the best way to lose a piece of
You
property.
could petition that, they'll have like a historical marker there, this was the headquarters of Robert E. Lee, and at one time it was the Appalachian Brewing Company.
It's our first satellite location. We need a little headstone there, right?
A little bit. Just a footnote.
We've been careful with the words that we use because everyone is a little indifferent about it. Honestly, the words are saddened, disappointed, and that's really that's really the case. It's like we understand. We live in Gettysburg for a reason.
Yeah,
it is a historical place that rivals none other in Pennsylvania. For the Civil War era. So we're lucky enough to be in that property and make friends. But I don't know. We kind of look at it like a church. The people make the church, not the building.
Yeah.
So we're actively looking for another location in that region, and we do have a second location, which we call the Gateway location, which is kind of we like to refer to that as like our date night location in Gettysburg. It's right at the intersection of Route 15 and Route 30. And it sits next to a movie theater and another hotel. So people kind of cruise in there for a beer, a burger, a movie, and they sleep over or whatever, Nice. And we'll operate that one and find a new place, hopefully right down there, not too far away.
Yeah, and hopefully you can maintain, a lot of your loyal clientele there.
Absolutely.
They've been very supportive. Yeah. They all understand.
Can you imagine? So. Yeah.
Are there any other upcoming locations that the brand is looking?
Jay's Basement is currently no. I'm kidding.
Location number 8.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Limited capacity.
No, we're always looking. There's the ownership of the company. Everybody wants to grow and expand, and certainly we've done that with brew pubs. So. We're a brewery in Harrisburg, and our brewery distributes to a lot of customers. We're our own biggest customer,
right?
So we go through a lot of kegs and bottles at all of our brew pub locations, and so we're always looking to do that. Looking to find the next place, but
it's a good model.
Yeah, we don't. I don't want to say there's a number of possibilities. So,
and I know that the satellite locations each have a much smaller brewing system. How often do brewers actually brew on these smaller systems away from Harrisburg?
I force them at least one a month.
Once a month.
But generally it's every 3 weeks because most of them only have one fermenter, one bright.
Right.
And so, they're really kind of flipping them pretty quick. Collegeville Hill actually is where we do all the lagering because they actually have 2 bright tanks. So they can still put out 1 beer a month, but just have, 5-6 weeks on every beer. But that's where Mechanicsburg really helps is because I'm done. Like in Harrisburg. I already started looking at 200-barrel tanks for outside, but they're not coming yet. But at least Mechanicsburg, we're going to have 45 barrels of fermentation space, so it can at least really help out.
Right.
We have, right now, probably 19 to 20 beers on tap. And our boss said I want at least 24 on tap at all time. I can do it, but I need a couple more tanks.
Right.
So, like this year alone, we're probably going to make almost 80 different styles of beer.
Wow,
awesome!
That's really cool. Now, for anybody who might not be familiar with ABC, what is the availability of your beer?
We have wholesale distribution throughout the state of Pennsylvania. There's somewhat of a little bit of a hole out in western PA. Now, if you want to follow, just look at our name. It's Appalachian.
Probably for good reason.
Well, we have it. Yeah, we are Appalachian Brewing Company. You know, a lot of people think of the Appalachian Trail as being the inspiration for that, and certainly we've drawn a lot of inspiration over the years in names of our beers and kind of the mentality of natural and in the name of some of our beers. Now the distribution, then, we would love to have it from Maine to Georgia, which is what the Appalachian Trail runs from, but in general we cover all of Pennsylvania except for kind of that little hole over in Pittsburgh, which we periodically do partner with a wholesaler out in that region. We're also at the entire state of Maryland. We're in Washington, D.C., portions of Northern Virginia, and we also distribute somewhat up to the New York line, as well as, we do a little bit of contract brewing. So our beers, although maybe not by name, are available in New York State as well.
Oh, cool. And for anybody that comes on site...
and also anyone who can fit it in their trunk and drive it to wherever the hell they want to without getting caught.
So for anybody that comes out to one of the restaurants, one of the locations you guys have, is there anything available to take home, like cases or growlers or anything?
Yeah, growlers of everything. And, of course, we have 9 beers in 12-ounce bottles and 4 in 22s. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
If you haven't seen one of these yet, I'll give you each one of these.
Oh, we're getting goodies. Here you go.
Swag.
Trail Pass. Appalachian Brewing Company's Trail Pass.
Right. So what I gave you guys there is, one of the things that we offer in the company, having a number of locations, is the ability to, we encourage people to travel and check them all out. We each have our own brewing system. We have, you want to call it a corporate structure in a sense, that we have flagship beers that are all brewed in the state capital, Harrisburg, PA. But then all of the other locations also have the small batch brew system. So ultimately what we want is for the guy who comes and finds his bar stool in Harrisburg, every couple of days, we want him to maybe venture out and check out the place in Collegeville or the place in Lidditz. And when he does that, he's also going to find different beers, whether that be on cask or whether that be just trying one of our different beers that he hasn't trying to kind of cater his experience and customize it. So with the Trail Pass, we give you the opportunity to win a super exclusive T-shirt, which I remember you talking about.
And I quoted that in the article.
Super exclusive T-shirt.
Super exclusive T-shirt.
And what you do is you have to. There's really 2 requirements for this. You have to visit each of our locations.
Okay.
So there's 7 locations. You've got a punch card here, which I just showed you guys. So you just by doing that, you could actually drink all of the beers. So first you have to drink our flagship beers, and I've only had one.
It's a 3-step process. It's step 1.
Thank you. So you drink one of the flagship beers. We have 8 of them: Water Gap Wheat, Mountain Lager, Purist Pale Ale, Jolly Scott Scottish Ale, Trailblaze Brown Ale, Hoppy Trails IPA, Susquehanna Stout, and our Broad Street Barley Wine. So you could do that in a day.
Mm-hmm. You could bang them out
if you want. I wouldn't recommend doing 8 barley wines, but then you get those. We have a stamp, so at each location has the same stamp. It's a little bear claw. It says ABC. Boom, boom, boom. You get those knocked off. Then we've got you go to each location once, or not each location, but just from there you go to wherever you want, an ABC location once a month, and try whatever specialty we have on. So the process will take you a year. So if you go to ABC once a month and just kind of pay attention to the punch card here,
right,
you really could get the T-shirt, at this time, at July of next year or June of next year. So anyway, we encourage you to do that, and obviously with Gettysburg closing, we'll honor that. If you only make it to 6, but right.
Everybody gets a free stamp on the battlefield location.
But it's kind of fun, and that's
a cool idea.
We get a lot of people that do it, and they do, man. They wear that T-shirt with pride when it's all over with, because if you have it on, you know that you've done your work.
There's a lot of work and a lot of money that you spent to get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you can just pick one of these up at any of your locations and say, hey, can I get a Trail Pass?
Just get them, and the bartender will take care of you. So every time, don't forget, man, don't waste a beer. If you try something different, if your buddy next to you tried one, we'll stamp you. It's okay.
Oh, cool.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a pretty cool idea. That's a pretty neat idea. I like that.
Now, in the vein of T-shirts, I see over on the wall there's some shirts. So do you guys sell merchandise here?
Yeah, we do. We've got a full line of T-shirts. Some of them just feature the beer. Some of them are just kind of generic. Everybody wants a cool white T-shirt in their collections with our logo on it. We try to rotate stuff quarterly, and I'm wearing the Mountain Lager.
I like that shirt.
It's like a baseball style T-shirt.
Yeah.
And then we also have a short sleeve ringer. So we try to do it like about every 3 months. We'll bring in something new, and the design will be something just either about our company or that particular beer. I guess our biggest seller, just like our biggest selling flagship, is our Hoppy Trails IPA. Probably no surprise. And it's also our hottest selling T-shirt.
Yeah.
So.
Very
But
cool.
you cannot buy the super exclusive VIP Trail Pass ticket.
You have to earn it.
You have to earn that. And no selling them on the black market on eBay or anything like that.
Yeah, right.
That's a pretty cool idea. I like that.
That is a really cool. I don't think I've ever heard of any brewery doing that before.
So how many of these can we get punched today?
Yeah, right.
Well, you got one. I'll actually make sure that we still have our June specialty, the Hinterland Hefeweizen on tap. So that's what you guys are going to get
Yay,
stamped.
our
cool.
first stamp.
All right.
The only thing is, I don't think the sampler counts, but
Yeah, you gotta
The
do a
sampler
pint.
doesn't count.
it's a pint.
That's probably a
That's
good
understandable.
cheating.
That's
Yeah.
a good rule.
Very cool. Well, gentlemen, again, we'd really like to thank you for inviting us out here.
Yeah.
So, for those who may not be aware, from here, now that we are acquainted with our guests a little more, Wayne has a little game that he has us do. A little trivia game, just kind of lighten up the mood. So, Wayne, what do we have?
It's the happiest, most funnest, gamiest, timiest game time around. In this edition of the ever-enlightening engagement that is Happy Fun Time Games, we focus on the fascinating field of numbers.
Oh, great.
Numbers, they're like everywhere. In an intellectual interlude I call Beer by Numbers, we'll explore some stats and sums, list the ledgers of libation, and get the facts on figures in the industry of beer through the magical method of multiple choice.
Yay!
Yay! So these are multiple choice questions about beer statistics, mostly like industry numbers and that. I would like to note all the stats are from 2013, since that's the last full year. So they're all up to date as of 2013. So we're going to, I got 4 questions here. We're going to alternate who answers first for each one, A, B, C, or D. And we're going to begin to my left with Dan. And the first question here, Dan, is what percent of all operating breweries in the U.S. were craft breweries in 2013? Was it 67%, 76%, 89%, or 98%?
What percent of all of them, all the breweries in
What
operation?
percent of all breweries in operation were craft breweries? 67, 76, 89, or 98?
I'm going to go 89.
Dan's going to go 89. Steph, what do you think?
I'm going to say 76.
You're going to say 76, letter B. Moving on to Mike, what do you think the number is?
I'm going to go with the one in the 80s, 89.
89, yes, you're right.
89.
89, and finally, Jay, what do you think?
Well, I have a really nerdy question.
Okay.
Is 2013 when they went adjunct free? Because they just did that. That's why Straub's now is considered a craft.
Oh, that's a good question.
So if they're
no, I don't
now-
think so. I think, wasn't that just this year?
Well, that's why I don't know.
Because Yingling is now craft, too.
I didn't know
No,
that.
Yingling's not craft. They make
Ye-
too much. Straub's, though, because they go 40% maize or
Yeah.
corn, they're now jumped in. Anyway, my answer's 98%.
Your answer is 98%. Well, regardless of your reasoning, you are the only one who is correct.
Hey!
The
Yay!
answer is, in fact, 98%. Yes, for some or all of 2013, there were 2,822 operating breweries in the United States, and 2,768 of those were craft breweries, which, if your math is correct, means that there were only 54 macro breweries operating last year. That sounds like a lot, and it's awesome for craft beer, but there is a bit of a caveat because the vast majority of breweries, craft breweries, are locally focused in their distribution in a small area or regionally, and only a few have national distribution. So while 98% of breweries are craft, just like 98% of stores are not Walmart, we really have to look at production and market share to get a clearer picture, which brings me and an awesome segue to my next question. And Steph, you're going to answer this. What percent of the U.S. beer market by dollars was made up by craft beer in 2013? Was it 10, 15, 20, or 30%?
Oh, it's got to be low.
It's lower than 31% because the
you
options
think?
are 10, 15, 20,
I'm going to say
or 30.
10%.
You're going to say 10%. Steph says 10%. Mike, what do you think?
I'll go Midland there.
Okay.
What was that?
Which one's that? 10, 15,
B?
20, or 30?
I'll go 20.
You'll go 20? All right, 20. 20 is letter C. And Jay, what do you think?
I'm going 15.
You're going 15%. And finally, Dan, what do you think it is?
10, 15, 20, or 30, right?
Yes, those
10,
are
15,
the options.
10, 15, 20, 30, 20.
20% agreeing with Mike, and you or Mike are both correct.
Hey, all right.
Overall beer sales last year totaled $100 billion. Craft beer claimed $14.3 billion of those dollars, which is roughly 20%. In terms of volume, craft beer sales accounted for 9% of domestic beer sales, with about 15 million barrels sold out of a total of nearly 153.5 million barrels of all U.S. produced beer sold. If you account for imported beer, which were 27.5 million barrels, craft beer percentage was at 7.8% of the volume of all beer sold in the United States in 2013. Moving along to our next question, and Mike is up to bat first on this one. And this is, what percent of craft beer was produced by contract brewing companies in 2013? Percent of...
No multiple?
This is multiple.
Oh. You're just looking at me like... that made it extremely hard.
It was a dramatic pause. Is it 1%? Is it 10%, 20%, or 30%?
Okay, so contract
percent of craft beer. Not beer on the whole, but craft beer.
I'm going to go low ball this time,
Okay.
1%.
1%. All right. Am I going 1%? Jay, what do you think it is?
I got nerdy responses again. I'm
All
going
right.
to go 30%.
30%? All right, going 30%.
It's like I don't even know you, Jay.
Opposite ends of the spectrum. What do you think it is, Dan?
Well, it worked last time that I would disagree with Mike, so I'm going to agree with Mike and say, yes,
And
1%.
say 1%. And
Wow.
Steph, what do you think?
I'm going to say 10%.
You're going to say 10%. Well, Dan, agreeing with Mike was a good strategy because you guys are both correct.
All right.
Technically, the number is 1.5%.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, of craft.
But when you cut me off and said that it was multiple choice, I went with the closest option.
Well, I am impressed that no matter how many mind games I played with you in that question, you still managed to answer correctly. 1.5% of craft beer production volume was produced by contract breweries in 2013. The production volume of contract breweries has been falling since 2007, when these facilities produced 1.38 million barrels. Interestingly, there was a precipitous fall-off from 2008 to 2009 when contract brewery production dropped by almost 1 million barrels. Since 2009, the number has hovered around 200,000 million barrels a year. Contract brewing, 1.5% of craft beer. This is our fourth and final question, and Jay's going to go first on this. And for this question, we're actually going to jump back a year, leave the United States, and go global. In 2012, how many countries consumed more beer per capita than the United States? In 2012, how many countries consumed more beer per capita than the United States? Is it 3, 5, 13, or 21?
13.
13. Going with number 13. Dan, what do you think it is?
13, and I will explain my reasoning after everybody else answers.
Momentarily. Okay, Dan saying 13 as well. Steph, what do you think it is?
Well, I'm going to agree with Dan because I think he talked about this,
He
didn't
did.
you?
I
So
heard
I'm going
about
to say
I heard
13
about
so I
this
don't
on-
get a
on a
big
podcast
goose
called
egg for
Beer
this
Busters.
game.
A very recent episode of a podcast called Beer Monsters.
And finally, Mike, how many countries are ahead of us?
I'm going to disagree with Dan,
Okay.
and I'm going to say 1.5%.
That is not an option. Circle gets the square. Okay. 3, 5, 13, or 21?
I will go with 1.5% times 2, which is 3%.
3.
The multiples of 1.5 will be the rest of my answers.
And that convoluted answer is incorrect. Everyone else is right. It's 13. 13 countries consumed more beer per capita than the United States in 2012. Does anyone remember what the top country was?
China.
No, it's not China.
Oh.
This was on a podcast called Beer Busters
Yes,
as well.
it was, if I remember correctly, the Ukraine.
No, you're getting closer.
No, they were least amount spent per beer.
Russia.
No,
I don't
closer still.
remember.
It wasn't Germany, was it?
No, it was not
No,
Germany.
it's not
Yeah, I know.
Germany.
That's the obvious answer.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought it was China.
And the answer is the Czech Republic.
That's
Czech
right.
Republic.
Czech
that's right.
Republic. The rest in order were Austria, Germany, Estonia, Poland, Ireland, Croatia, Venezuela, Finland, Romania, Australia, Panama, and Slovenia.
All I'm thinking of is the Animaniacs right now.
Yes. French, Guyana, Barbados, and Guam.
Exactly.
Yes. 13 countries
Pull that one out.
drank more beer than the United States in 2012. So, Dan, what was your reasoning as we're all waiting with bated breath?
Because it was mentioned on a very recent episode of Beer Busters podcast.
It was. But to be fair, there are some conflicting lists of this particular data on the interwebs. However, the data that I went with is found on Wikipedia, and more reliably...
Oh, then it must be right.
But more reliably, it is also reported by the Barth Haas Group, which is a German entity and the world's largest provider of hop products and services.
There you
so
go.
their word is pretty good. So we're going to add up the points real quick and see who our big winner was today in this edition of Happy Fun Time. And it looks like, surprisingly, mind-blowingly, with 3 whole points at the top of the pile is Dan. To my left. Coming in just behind, tied for second place, is our 2 guests, Mike and Jay, with 2 points apiece. And sitting at the bottom, but not with a goose egg, with 1 point, is Steph.
It's because I didn't study for this one.
Yeah, she was too busy brewing.
I only win when I study.
You are evicted from the Big Brother house.
Oh, man, I don't know.
You are the weakest link. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
If you'd like to hear the conversation we just had about game show hosts, you can sign up for our newsletter and listen to Beer Busters Outtakes at beerbusterspodcast.com.
And buy stuff at the Swag Shop.
Your beers. No. Know your beers. On this episode's rendition of Know Your Beers, we're going to talk about the Weizenbock, because that happens to be the July seasonal here at Appalachian Brewing Company. So, comparable to the barley-based regular Bock beer, a Weizenbock is a strong version of an unfiltered Weiss beer or Hefeweizen. It's usually made with 60 to 70% wheat malt, and German law, of course, requires that a Weizen beer, regardless of strength, be made with at least 50% wheat. The other 30 to 40% tend to be Pils, Vienna, or Munich malts. While regular Bock beers are lagers, Weizenbocks are all ales. They are fermented with a special yeast that gives the brew a slightly spicy clove-like flavor. Aventinus, the world's oldest top-fermented wheat Doppelbock, was created in 1907 at the Weiss Brauhaus in Munich using the champagnization method with fresh yeast sediment on the bottom. It was Schneider's creative response to bottom-fermenting Doppelbocks that developed a strong following during these times. So when you're enjoying a Weizenbock, you can expect an aroma of bready malt and powerful dark fruit aromas like plums, prunes, raisins, or grapes. And moderate phenols, mostly common, are vanilla or clove, and some banana esters could be present as well. The appearance is going to be dark amber or dark ruby brown in color with a very thick, long-lasting, light tan head. Weizenbocks are traditionally unfiltered, contributing to their cloudiness. The flavor is a combination of rich Bach-like melanoidins, dark fruits, spicy clove-like phenols, light banana and or vanilla, and moderate wheat flavor. The malty, bready flavor of wheat is enhanced by the copious use of Munich and or Vienna malts. They may also have a sweet palate, and a light chocolate character can sometimes be found. Mouthfeel is usually medium, full to full-bodied, with a creamy sensation as the warming sensation of the alcohol content.
That's what she said.
Overall, it's a strong, malty, fruity, wheat-based ale combining the best flavors of a Dunkelweizen and the rich strength and body of a Bock. Some commercial examples, of course, Schneider, Aventinus, Schneider's Eisbock, Plank Bavarian Dunkelweizenbock, Plank Bavarian Heller Weizenbock, Alesmith Weizenbock, Erdinger Picantis, Victory Moonglow Weizenbock, High Point Rammstein Winter Wheat, Capital Weizen Doppelbock, and of course, Appalachian Brewing Company's Volks Weizenbock.
So, on that note,
Beer me! Beer me! Beer me! Beer me!
all right, so now that there are 3 beers in front of me, what are we going to start with?
It's the Volks Weizenbock. As you stated earlier, it's July specialty beer. We use Hefeweizen yeast, 70% wheat malt. The rest is Pilsner malt, 2-row Pilsner, and caramel malt with a little bit of chocolate for the color. It's 7.3% alcohol.
Oh,
Wow. Rather smooth for being that alcoholic.
It really is, yeah.
it is smooth.
It's a very malty, it's smooth. Nice
It
malty
is.
sweetness to it.
You get the maltiness as Steph described earlier. You know, you get that maltiness of a Bock beer. It's kind of spicy like a Hefe,
Yeah, you get the aroma like a Hefeweizen.
which
the,
it makes
the yeast.
it makes it popular because our Hefeweizen is our June specialty, and so that's really the beginning of summer beer. we've actually released our Weizenbach as our December specialty previously, until we moved it at the request of our customers to say, no, we kind of want the summer of Hefes, and so so we start them off with the Hefeweizen, and then we piggyback off of that with the Volksweizenbach. So then you get everybody kind of gets that build up to fall, really, honestly.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
And it's nice when you come here and they overlap, and then you can have the Hefeweizen and roll right into the Weizenbach at the same
it's
evening.
Hefeweizen's big brother,
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good follow-up to it. I really
Yeah.
like it. It's nice and complex, but kind of, like you said, smooth at the same time.
Yeah, there's a little bit of chocolate backbone to it. You kind of taste it on the tail end, but it's really weedy. It's got that grassy kind of, flavor profile.
And it is a nice, I think, like you said, a transition, getting ready for fall, getting ready for autumn, because you have a little bit of the spice.
I'm not getting ready for fall.
Yes, I don't
want to
think of fall yet.
No.
Well, like if you visit one of the brew pubs of ABC, so we'll release our beers, on a monthly basis. So our June specialty is the Hinderland Hefeweizen. The July specialty is Volksweizenbach. The August specialty is Capona Fest. But really, our beers have about a 3-month lifespan within the brew pubs. So some of the more popular beers, do go quicker, and people will. I mean, I remember back in the days, like when I was just a Mug Club member at ABC Harrisburg, or back in the early 2000s, even before I worked for the company. Hefeweizen used to be on tap almost, at least 6 months of the year, really.
Right.
Now it doesn't last that long. It's because it's become extremely popular, and word gets around. We've expanded as a company, but it is one of those beers. People know it when they get it. Some of the beers don't last very long, but typically you get about, if we have a June specialty, you can expect that it's going to be around till around the end of August.
So you really can have the summer of Hefes.
Yes,
because they'll all be
absolutely
overlapping,
and we encourage that.
Absolutely. You need a card for that, a punch card. Well, I guess they would, because you have the monthly
June
specialties on
and
there.
July.
Yeah.
So there you go. If any of our listeners want to start the trail pass and you come to Collegeville while both of them are still on tap, you get a pint of the Hefe, a pint of the Weizenbach, and you can get 2 paws in one night, the specialties. Because those are a little harder to get than just the standard house beers.
That's right.
Very good. I will say, though, now after a couple sips, that, what is it, 7.3? 7.3. Start to feel a little bit like in the aftertaste. You kind of get a little bit of the touch. Okay, yeah, there's alcohol in there.
Yeah.
Very good, though.
That is part of the brewing process, is alcohol.
That is, yes. It's pretty important, as I understand.
I do like that one. Now, I'm kind of curious what the second one is. The second one was the Pilsner, right?
Yeah, the second one is the Peregrine Pilsner. This is a small batch beer that we did. And so if it's a small batch from my location, it's 65 half kegs roughly. And so I've made a different Pilsner every year for the last 5 years. And this one by far seems to be the most popular, and everyone absolutely loves it. So this is 95% two-row. I use 2 different varieties of Munich malts and a little bit of Vienna for body. It's 33 IBUs, nice light, super drinkable. This is actually a dry hop beer. We dry hop this with 2 boxes of Saaz, but super low alpha, really high beta, so it comes around as a little bit peppery. But this is what I'm drinking at my shop every day. So definitely the Pilsner is really nice. So
it's so clean, it's so crisp. It's like everything you want from a Pilsner.
Yeah,
it's delicious.
but it's light in body. I mean, just being a little bit over 5% ABV, super drinkable. I like to make really good session beers that are semi-complex, and this is exactly what I try to do for a living right here.
It's delicious.
I like it. It's clean, clear, and crisp, but it does have that touch of hoppiness or that pepperiness from that dry hop.
Yeah, but it's not. Our other big lager is a Dortmunder style, so it has a little bit of sulfur nose to it, like it should, And I probably do about 5 different lager style beers a year, and this Pilsner is probably the best one I've done in a while. So
that's great.
It's kind of a cool story too, and one thing that Jay mentioned earlier is that heading a team of brewers at a bunch of different locations. We're going to brew about 80 different beers every year, at 80 different styles. And the Peregrine Pilsner is one of those beers that we set our calendar every year for what we're actually going to do on a monthly basis. But that doesn't mean that that's going to stick for the next year. So 2014 might be different than 2015. At a certain point, Volksweizenbach changed from being the December specialty to our July specialty. Peregrine Pilsner is one of those beers that was one of our monthly specialties originally, back in the day, and then kind of went off the calendar this year. But we had extra tank space. We decided there was a hole in the brewing, manufacturing process, if you will. So why not pick up one of our most popular, beers that we could? So we kind of added a 13th month, which is a benefit that we.
And we've been continuing to do that because I was surprised when we got here tonight that they still had the blank stare on tap, which was the last small batch, which was a spring IPA, like 4.5% ABV, about 75 IBUs. We dry hopped it to no end, but really nice and clean. And actually, the next one I'll release in about 2 weeks is a Belgian Pale Ale. That's unfiltered, quick, easy. So, I do the flagships plus the monthly specialties and stuff like this Pilsner. If I have enough room, I'll just get them in and out. So expect a lot more stuff like this, though, from Mechanicsburg. Because this is all I'm going to be doing in Mechanicsburg is 15-barrel batches left and right. My goal is to have 3 to 4 IPAs on at all times from those locations, as well as do some really neat, funky stuff. Like my one brewer just absolutely wants to do a Gruit, and that'll be his first beer. Oyster Stouts are coming. Russian Imperial Stouts are coming. There's a lot more beer that we're going to be able to make out of Mechanicsburg.
So, Jay, do you have the freedom to brew pretty much anything you can dream of?
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's got to be cool.
If you can dream it, you can brew it.
All I have to do is I send off a formulation to my boss, and sometimes I hear no response, so I just make it. And,
take that as a yes.
Yeah, so then if I do hear a response, it's like, oh, we probably should have like 4 more IBUs. Cool.
But the cool thing is when we say he's brewing it in Mechanicsburg, it's still that's a big enough system that it's going to get everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just talking to a customer up here. I don't know if this is a secret of the podcast, but you guys take pee breaks and bar breaks.
Things happen that aren't recorded.
Right.
Yes.
But we were talking to one of the customers up here, and he said, "I really like stouts. What do you And right now we have our flagship Susquehanna stout." But we also do a number of other stouts. We do a Chocolate Avenue stout. We do a coconut porter. Well, so anyway, I was explaining to him that we do some other stout. We do a Ragged Edge espresso stout.
We do an espresso stout, a chocolate stout. We do a porter, a vanilla porter, a coconut porter.
Yeah. But I was telling him that most of the beers, like from every beer that's brewed in Harrisburg on a small batch basis, gets sent out to all the other locations. So you're not going to miss out on like the fill-in beers, like the 13th and the 14th month of the year, like we call like these Peregrine Pilsners, the Blank Stare IPA, which has been really popular. But sometimes, like a location like Lidditz will brew the vanilla porter or the coconut porter out of Camp Hill, and I may have those reversed. But either way, sometimes they're so popular that they don't want to give them up. Which is why you got to get to the other locations, So
absolutely,
we like to have that. So when you go to ABC, you always expect the same level of service and quality beers, but then we try to retain that independence at each location. So you kind of pick your favorite location, and the one that's closest to you is often your favorite, but when you get through, a lot of people travel on business or travel to, visit family members. We love them to stop into the ABC in that neighborhood, and then they go, oh my gosh, I tried this amazing beer, and they only got it there. So that's cool.
And you can fill out your trail pass.
While you're there, yeah.
I really like the sound of that coconut porter. That sounds amazing.
Oh my gosh, is it good, man?
When is that one available?
Well, Camp Hill brewed that. When did they brew that?
Lidditz did it in March.
Camp Hill's the vanilla then, so...
Camp Hill's the vanilla,
okay.
Yes.
So now, if those beers become ridiculously popular, if they have been,
that's
you'll
the
consider
espresso stouts.
Doing larger batches.
I started making the espresso stout in Harrisburg because of the popularity 3 years in a row in Camp Hill.
But what do you actually... Because here I am, like the marketing guy. I know everything about the company, right? But you actually know everything about the beer.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. That's why you got me down here.
But an espresso stout, like, Is that as simple as it sounds? It's just it's like a stout base, and then you add espresso. Or?
Yeah, that beer it actually is. We this past year to make 65 barrels, we hand pressed in French presses 480 pounds of espresso, and then injected that right into the stout because you can't compete with hand pressing. So, but we do have a local guy in Gettysburg who actually roasts all the espresso for us and grinds it. So.
That's pretty
Delicious.
awesome. Yeah.
I
We try
wish
to
we
use
had
it-
that in front of us right now. It sounds
On a side note,
amazing.
there was a dessert that just walked by that I wish we had in front of us right now. It just looked
Was
like
it-
a waffle piled with chocolate and other chocolate and more chocolate.
Well, actually,
So
our signature dessert is our ABC root beer float.
Ooh.
I saw that on the menu.
And you can also have a birch beer float if you wanted to. But it's our partner, our ice cream partner, is that we consider ourselves a premium craft product. So we partner with a premium craft ice cream company called Hall's Ice Cream, which is out of Perry County, which is just north of Harrisburg.
Okay.
And it's honestly, it's fantastic. So
You need to do an espresso stout float.
how do you combine a root beer with a beer? You know,
Well, no
Just
root
ice-
beer.
Yeah,
No
just
root
the ice cream in
beer.
the
Just
beer.
beer and ice cream.
Oh no, you could do that though, right?
I believe Camp Hill used to do that in the past.
Like a
Nice.
barley wine float. Yeah.
I don't know about barley wine and ice cream, but an
I-
espresso stout and ice cream would be amazing.
I did it before with vanilla ice cream and a chocolate stout. That was amazing. It was one of the best things I've ever done.
Well,
I
That
don't
show you how exciting my life is.
We're here. We might as well make one. Should we do that to end the show?
Oh my god, that'd be awesome.
We can.
Yeah, why not?
I've got the checkbook already. It's cool.
So the third one we have here is the Hoppy Trails, right?
yeah, the Hoppy Trails is probably one of our best-selling beers now. This is one of the beers I've always been proud of. It was my first beer I was allowed to change over 5 or 6 years ago. Currently, it's 6.3%, about 63 IBUs. It is not a crazy IPA. It's just super drinkable. It's a little resiny in the backbone, right? We dry hop it with Amarillo, Centennial, Cascade, Columbus. So 7 different varieties of hops go into it. A lot in dry hops. It's got a nice floral nose to it. A little resiny, but it's super drinkable. It's more British than American. I believe an IPA should be an actual IPA and not a double IPA or over the top and
Yep.
crazy.
You
It
want it
can
to be
be
something-
piney, it can be resiny, but it should be an IPA. It
Yes.
shouldn't be a palate
Yes.
wrecker. Just be a little hoppy and be drinkable, and that's what the Hoppy Trails
That's
is.
what I was just going to say, that I find that most brewers have a love-hate relationship with IPAs.
Yeah.
I'll keep on making them, but this is the one I want to drink, and
This
that's
is
the one I
very
make.
And I like the danker, funkier IPAs, but there is a point where it gets ridiculous.
Well, then it's just not an IPA.
Yeah.
It's a double
It's a
IPA
double.
or whatever
Yeah.
you want it to be. But if it's an IPA, make an IPA.
Right.
Call it an American Pale Ale, not an English Pale Ale. I mean, there's a lot of guidelines out there. If you want to be wild, go for it. But there are guidelines. This is strictly just a really drinkable IPA.
And it's very good.
It's a delicious
well balanced,
IPA.
and it is like piney, and it has a resiness.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of resin backbone to it, but it's very malt forward. I mean, we use some caramel malt, some Munich and Vienna just to kind of balance out that body. And I think it's a very, very well balanced beer as well.
And
Yeah,
it's got
and
like
you
a
get-
clean, dry finish.
Yeah, you get
Yeah.
the,
Oh,
the
yeah.
bitterness at the end, but nothing that sticks with you too long, just enough
Yeah.
to say, I want another
After
sip.
like 30 seconds, it's gone.
I
or
want
if-
another sip.
If you get that other sip, it's-
Hashtag cleans up after it's
Hash-
out.
Hashtag
Hashtag
cleans up after itself.
That
I'll
sounds
never live
really
that down.
dirty.
Hashtag not cat piss.
Yeah, we've had that
Simcoe.
one before too. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, a funny story. We do a number of brew fests every year. Obviously, you know that we have one coming up that I'd love to tell you guys about, which happens on September 13th at our main Harrisburg brewery. It's the 17th annual Capital City Invitational Beer Festival. Obviously, you guys are invited. We'd love to have you there. In
thank
fact,
you.
if you'd love to do your podcast from there,
Oh.
it'd be an opportunity for you guys to.
We
not-
could put you right on the deck surrounded by,
Well, you-
400 drunk people.
but not only that, but about 20 different breweries. So
Can we get a fence between us and the drunk people, or some kind of gate or something?
Talk about ambient noise.
you can you can order tickets online at abcbrew.com/events. Our partner, greenbeltevents.com, will also be selling the tickets. And we'll also have a limited amount of tickets at all of our remote locations. Even though it's kind of our company flagship beer festival. It happens every year on the second Saturday in September. So this year, that's the 13th. And if you guys want to come out, I forgot my original thought. It tends to happen after you've tried your fourth beer.
So to help out Parker, it's also what kicks off our Oktoberfest. So our Oktoberfest beer is always our Capona Fest Lager, which is a Marzen. But we always make sure I usually make another batch of Hefe just to have it during that time period. And we do a lot of drink specials. We do special menus, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's just a lot of meat and sauerkraut for like 3 weeks.
It's easy. It's not expensive either. It's $35 in advance.
Not bad at all.
I'm in.
Yeah.
$40 at the door, and we also offer designated driver tickets, which is important, for $15, and that entitles you to because this is the cool thing about our brew festival is. Although, you want to say, well, I've been to brew festivals where there's 50 craft breweries, okay? So we have about 20, and we've always kept it at around, kind of intimate, around 20 to 25 of the top brewers across the Mid-Atlantic region. So, you're going to get brewers from Delaware, Maryland, Pennsylvania, a lot of Pennsylvania, some New York brewers. But Jay's, we've been mentioning all of our beers. I mean, you also have access in a 5-ounce glass to every single one of the brews that are on tap at ABC that day. So when you come into our main brew pub, you're talking about, another dozen beers, and typically every brew pub brings around 2. So when you talk about that, you're automatically adding another 6 or 7, brew pubs. And then if you're a designated driver, it's still worth it because you're getting food with it. You're getting that
2 all-you-can-eat buffets and everything else.
Oktoberfest style buffet, as well as you absolutely give you access to our craft birch beer and root beer, and ginger beer. So.
I think Rich would really like that.
I can't wait to see you guys there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Awesome.
I like the festivals that have the smaller number of brewers like that, because we last year, the three of us, before we even started the podcast, went to one in Philly, and there were a lot of breweries there, and everything was really good. But the problem I had was after about the 10th brewery I went to, after having 2 or 3 of their beers they had with, I don't remember them after that.
Yeah, it turns into a drunk fest.
Yeah.
With this one, I mean, you can actually talk to everybody, and it's air conditioned. There's food.
Oh, that's good.
Guys, 17 years. If it didn't work, it didn't work, and we continue to do it. And it's kind of Harrisburg's signature craft beer festival, and it's rain or shine because it's indoors. So
perfect.
Dress how you want. Have a great little time. Take home your commemorative.
I will say though,
actual glass too. By the way,
not plastic.
As a side tidbit, a lot of my friends come in town for this one, and so the last year we've had 4 to 5 beers that you can't find outside of their restaurants that they bring down for me. So that's kind of the other part. I mean, it's a small world. Not many of us make beer, so you kind of started to know everybody in the state.
Awesome. And that was September 13th, you said, right?
That's it. Yep. And there's 2 sessions. So there's a 2 to 5, and there's a 6 to 9.
Oh, man.
So we hope to see you guys there.
That sounds awesome. I would love
I'm
to
putting
do
it
that.
in my calendar.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, too.
It's worth the drive to Harrisburg, and if you are looking for accommodations, if you don't have the extra DD, there's plenty of hotels in our beautiful capital city.
A DD for was it 15 for the DD?
That's
right.
right. Yep.
With a buffet.
Awesome.
I'm looking at Rich.
$15 with a buffet.
And the
Lots of meat and sauerkraut.
craft soda. He's all about it.
All
I
right, we
think
got
he
our
could hang.
DD. We're going.
Well,
Rich doesn't drink, but he eats an awful lot.
Especially Oktoberfest food.
Oh, man. I love the sound of that. I love the taste of that IPA, too. Look how it comes back to the IPA. No, it was good. And it's like you said, it's not anything that's going to kill your palate, which is good because that seems to be the trend. You go to the double IPA because that's what everybody apparently wants. I don't want that.
No, and I make one too, but I want to drink this.
Yeah, I've got to be in the mood for the double IPA. But this, if I just want a beer on a nice hot day while I'm looking outside of the hot day from the inside of the air conditioning, I'm going to have this.
All right.
Do you remember when I said I didn't remember what I was going to say?
Yeah.
So
Now
you
you
reminded
remember?
me.
All right.
So the IPA, the Hoppy Trails IPA, which is available if you're within the sound of our voice and you can buy at a distributor.
Well, you got to be careful by the sound of our voice because this goes online and that's global.
So in Pennsylvania,
there you go.
Except for like extreme Western PA. But anyway, we were at a Harley Davidson motorcycle, basically like big party, and they invited. Yeah, it's a dealership, and they all have great events, and they were raising money for charity. So they asked us to provide beer for the event, and we said absolutely no problem. It's really so we provided beer free of charge, something we're happy to do for a donation to I believe it was Muscular Dystrophy Association that day. So it was cool because all these bikers were forming a line, and it was, of course, we're in the most popular stand, and they were dropping $3 or $4 into the bucket for every pint that we gave them out of the tap. But we took our Water Gap Wheat, which is our milder wheat beer, which is what we would call it maybe. So basically that's your introductory craft beer. Then we have our Mountain Lager, and the word lager is very important. And then we took our Hoppy Trails IPA. And so just about 90%, since we were talking about statistics, would walk up to us in the beginning and say, "I'll take a lager." Yeah. And you know what that means in Pennsylvania?
That means a Yingling.
You want a Yingling, yeah.
The word lager is synonymous with just, if I want to say there's a biker beer out there, I don't want to say it's a biker beer, but lager is one of those beers that's on tap just about anywhere in Pennsylvania. So when they see the word lager, Yingling has actually done everybody a favor who has a good lager. Which but at the same time, our lager is distinct, and we're proud of it. But so the lager went first, and then a couple people would get adventurous and try the wheat, and they'd say, "Oh, that's pretty good," but they went the lager just because by name. And then if someone said, "Well, the line's too long for either the wheat or the lager," they would take the IPA. And the first couple people that came up these are not craft beer drinkers, and so they would kind of get the bitter beer face. Yeah. And it wasn't an appreciative bitter beer face. It was like, I'm not sure I know what I just ingested into my body. But then it's funny because as the day goes on, the wheat, the lager, of course, are the first to kick, and then the IPA remains. Oh, believe me, we walked out of there with 3 empty kegs. So by the end of the day, not only had we introduced craft beer to people, but we had almost tiered them from the lager and the wheat to an IPA to the point where they're coming back for their second pint of IPA. And now you might look at that as saying, well, they were desperate because it was the only beer that was available at the party. But I look at it as saying, no, now they know what an IPA is. Now they've exposed themselves to a different type of beer. And that's kind of what we try to do every day. And so we know that there are beer nerds and beer geeks or whatever acronym you want to use for that. But we also know that new people are experiencing craft beer every day. And so when you go from an IPA to a double IPA, we want you to appreciate it. If you limit yourself to one beer a week, ABC is a great place to come. Try a different beer every week. Find out what you really like. And we're just a starting point. All sorts of other breweries are opening up all over the place, and we're totally in support of that. We don't see it as competition. We see it as there's a guy who never knew that there was what craft beer was, and he goes all of a sudden one opens up 5 minutes from his house. Next thing you know, he's going there every week, and he becomes a big fan of it. But then he realizes there's another craft brewery somewhere else, and eventually we end up on that list. And so, anyway, it's great stuff. But that's my long roundabout story about the IPA.
Yeah.
But IPAs are just they so saturate the market, but it's actually a really important style of beer.
It is a great style of beer, and it is a style of beer that can be done really well. And an IPA like the one we have now, that's not crazy. That's subtle in its complexity. It is funny though that you said the IPA was the last keg to kick because they weren't craft beer drinkers. If you were at like a beer fest with craft beer drinkers, it would be the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's all.
There's one thing I want to mention about what you just said. So one of the things you said in there is you don't see new breweries as competition, which I love. And I've said it many times before. I love that in the craft beer industry, both those that are inside and those that drink it from the outside looking in, you'll never see anybody who will, I guess, make fun of you for wanting to try a different craft beer, because we're all in it together, whether you brew it and drink it, whether you just drink it and want to brew it or bridge the gap or anything. It's something. There's something there for everybody, and we all respect that, and we're all in it together.
And I think it's a combination of the philosophy of craft beer, which is sort of like, yeah, everybody join the party, everybody get into it, let's share what we love. But I think there's also sort of an economic side to it, too, because people who are into craft beers, the big thing is variety. So if I like this craft brewery, I'm going to try this craft brewery. I'm going to try this craft brewery. So every craft brewery that makes great beer is helping every other craft brewery sell.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, I think Jim Koch said it best, 3 years ago to CBC. This industry is 99% asshole free. And that's exactly what it's like. I mean, it is. If you make beer, you drink beer, I'll come chit-chat with you. We can sit here and do this. But all in all, I mean, we're not competitive because you can make 5,000 variations of an IPA or a Scotch ale or anything, or an Eisbach. Anything you want to make, you can do it. So do it, and if it's good, people appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly. If you brew it, they will come.
Yeah, exactly. You guys came here.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. And, what we had tonight is only a small fraction of what you guys have here at ABC, and I love that. So
only a few ticks on the trail pass.
Yes, exactly. There's so many more. And with what is it, over 80 distinct beers throughout the year that you guys are going to brew, there's so much more. So you can come here every week of the year. If you limit yourself to one, like you said, Mike, you can come here and still not go through everything that you're going to make in an entire year. 52 beers a year, you're not even going to come close.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I love it.
Not alone the cask conditioned or anything like that.
Yeah. So, dare I ask, what are the favorites?
Well, the Hefeweizen has always been one of my favorite ABC beers.
Okay.
And, I've done the sampler. I've had most of the seasonals, but that Pilsner impressed me tonight. I mean, that was a delicious Pilsner and such an amazing example
with the fist
of the
bump
style.
at the end of the table.
Yeah.
It is a great beer.
It is a really, really great beer. Wayne?
Yeah, I'd have to agree, as far as a Pilsner, and I haven't had a whole lot of Pilsners, and it's not one of my favorite styles, but it is a style I appreciate. That was a really well-executed Pilsner in my admittedly limited experience with the style. But I think, and I'm going to say this only because of the mood that I'm in right now, is that the IPA I enjoy the most right now. But these are the sorts of beer that every day, every mood, every season, there's one that's perfect to fit that. They were all really fantastic beers.
I have to agree with the Pilsner, with your exact sentiment on it. I'm not a huge fan of Pilsners. I've had one or two that I like, but this will definitely that's the top of my Pilsner list. Therefore, I'm going to say that's my favorite tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, everything was phenomenal. I mean, the Volks was great. The Hefeweizen that we had, outside the tasting segment was great. The IPA, it's not going to kill my palate, and I can go back to it. But that Pils, man, that really is going to make somebody come around on the style of a Pilsner.
And you know what, Dan?
What?
It was smooth.
It was indeed smooth.
That's Dan's word.
There's that word again. When we started the podcast, I couldn't think of anything else besides the word smooth to describe a beer. I'm still pretty terrible at it, but I have 4 extra words in the vocabulary. But smooth started it all.
Tell me about it. He's the man who has to write all of my beer descriptions.
Oh, God.
I give him 12 words, and he has to write a paragraph.
You get the
You
wheel
have to make
of flavor.
it sound wonderful.
Yeah, exactly.
So what about you guys? What are your favorite beers from ABC? I know
the
Jay.
666.
Oh, yes. That's a good one.
It's a big boy. The IPA. Those are probably number 1 and number 2.
Very cool.
Number 1 for me has always been Hefeweizen. I want to say it's delicious. My favorite flagship would be the Jolly Scottish style ale. It's just got that beautiful caramel taste. It's toasty, and it's extremely drinkable.
And it's also the poster on the wall.
I was going to say that.
Yeah, and he's kind of our icon.
Right there.
I've tried to increase Jolly Scott's visibility.
Love it.
He's a great icon for the human icon. We've got a lot of bears and other things that we use.
Yeah.
But Jolly Scott's a pretty smooth fellow.
Yeah. Man.
That could be your next trivia question. What is an 80 shilling beer?
Do you know?
Yes, yeah, 80 shilling
Do
beer.
I know? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
The funniest
That could be your
thing-
next trivia question.
The funniest thing is it says on the label, brewed with barley, hops, yeast, and water.
Yeah.
What should it say? No duh.
And it should say underneath, and alcohol is part of the
It's
process.
served in a glass.
Served in a glass.
So where can our listeners
To be
find you
taken
guys
orally.
on the interwebs?
As opposed to what?
abcbrew.com is our main website. You'll find all of the, information about our locations, our craft beer, our craft soda, our available banquet space. If you wanted to get married at a craft brewery, that's cool. We can do that.
Or renew your vows.
Yes,
Seth.
renew your vows. You can also find us on Facebook. Appalachian. Just search Appalachian Brewing Company. All of our locations have their own Facebook page, and so what I would encourage everybody really to do though, and Twitter as well. Search that. But what I would encourage everybody to do is go to abcbrew.com, and I think it's in the upper right corner. You can sign up for Brew Mail, and then you'll get our Brews letter, we do that.
Brews letter.
I like that.
We do the Brews letter every month, and you'll learn about really everything that goes on at every location. It's kind of like your one-stop shop, and we just hit you up once a month, and then if we have a new beer, we'll send you a beer alert. So again, it's the most we're gonna annoy you or make your cell phone blow up is about 2 or 3 times a month with just our Brews letter, which is kind of all-encompassing, and then just to alert you to events and new beers.
And don't forget about September 13th,
Yes.
the Capital City Invitational. And Dan, if you don't mind, I would like to plug one of my own events.
Oh, please, go ahead.
Coming up August 7th, of course, is National IPA Day. And at Iron Hill, our Lancaster location, which is where I've been interning, we will be debuting the Hop Stinger IPA, which was brewed with 60 pounds of local Lancaster County honey. We will be tapping it August 7th. So for our local listeners, please stop by and enjoy a beer that I helped to brew.
Save some for
Proudly.
me because the 7th is when I leave for California.
When you're going to get us Woot Stout.
Yes, and you'll be
course.
coming back with copious amounts of Woot
Copious
Stout.
amounts, however much will fit in my suitcase.
Absolutely. And if you can, bring Will Wheaton back with you, too.
I'd have to go to a different part of California from what I understand.
Doesn't matter,
but I'll
it's
try.
worth it.
I'll try. I will try.
So
Oh.
speaking of Brews letters, if you want to be annoyed twice a month, you can sign up for the Beer Busters Podcast newsletter at beerbusterspodcast.com or on our Facebook page, and you will get updates. You will see what's on our website. You can see our latest episode, what's coming up in our next episode, and you can hear outtakes, and I'm sure there'll be some outtakes today.
Of course.
Some of which may have involved reality TV and game shows.
May or may not. Anywho, we've traveled on long enough, and it does kind of hurt me to say that this is the end of another episode of Beer Busters Podcast. And it was Lee Bryce who said, Sunday football game, hot dog and a mustard and stain, cussing out the ref, but I guess I can't complain. I've got it made in the shade of a 60-inch Sony and my lazy boy chair. Beer. Whole song dedicated to beer.
It was a little confusing.
It is, but whatever. We would again like to thank our friends at the end of the table from ABC here for welcoming us to your space. Gentlemen, thank you so much for having us out here.
Anytime, guys.
As always, I am Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and our from entertainer.
Wayne Baker.
Until next time, we bid you adieu.
Hashtag Trail Pass.
Is that your final answer?
Oh my God, dude.